And we are live. Hello, everybody. I'm Barbara Tien here with Projectkin. And joining me today for our Substack Live for Projectkin is none other than Jennifer Jones, our one human being on the planet who is completely immune to time zones.
Thank you, Barbara.
It is a superpower. I'm telling you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
So as all of you know by now, I like to use these sessions as a way to give you a quick snapshot of what's coming in the week ahead, because honestly, that's how I use it. And also to give you some new special feature. So that's where Jennifer comes in. So coming up this week, I'm thrilled to have Emma Explores with Emma Cox in the UK. As many of you know, Emma from her Journeys into Genealogy podcast, she takes these sessions today with rather on Thursdays with Projectkin to dive into her own family history and share special perspectives on where it takes her, what she's learned, and how she got there. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Jane,
Deneen,
Kathy,
Jane, Kathy,
Alan.
Alan, welcome. It's a delight to have you. So in this week's program, Emma will be talking a little bit about two branches of her upcut branches of her family, and in particular, their experience in the wool trade from about 1600 through 1800, an incredible period in history, particularly between, the UK and the colonies. That would include us, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and their experience, I presume, mostly in the Atlantic trade, but with everything from piracy to what that meant, and presumably a little bit about their role in the Industrial Revolution that was so foundational to all of our family histories. So that's coming up on Thursday. And then on I wanted to catch a little bit of what happened last week in case you missed it. First of all, I ran this Substack Live program from the edge of my seat at the Getty in Los Angeles. And that was, again, a big plug for the Getty. It was an extraordinary museum visit. And I had the chance to chat with my Thursday guest last week, Cynthia Nims. Cynthia joined us to have a little conversation about the idea of using a potluck or share a plate, share a dish event as a way to bring together family stories. And it was a especially fun event. And I hope you have a chance to watch that. And as a matter of fact, in the whole conversation about food and family, we started to think about how the stories themselves are pretty important and I think kind of inspiring, which brings me to my special guest today. So the idea of not just talking about how you might go about doing all these projects to tell your family story, we've realized that it's also very valuable, and a valuable, I hope, resource that Projectkin can bring to this community is an opportunity to actually tell your stories live. So we started thinking about ways to do that with food as well. So maybe today is a great time to bring in, oh, there she is, Jennifer Jones, to talk about what we've been cooking up in the Speaker's Corner. Now, you see, Jennifer, who many of you know is a very active Projectkin member, able to leap tall time zones in a single bound, Jennifer has stepped up to take those very special skills as a producer for Projectkin, pulling together these Speaker Corner events where we're coordinating topics and times and people across time zones to make that happen. So, Jennifer, tell us a little bit about what you have planned for the whole Speaker's Corner, and then we can talk about how what food has to do with all of this. Go ahead, please.
Thanks, Barbara. Thank you, everyone, for coming along. So, I might just say a couple of sentences about how Speaker's Corner got started, because it was sort of accidental, and it's now blown up into a thing, which is fabulous. I was chatting to Barbara today about something which I cannot even remember, and probably
it goes that way.
Yep, probably telling stories came up, And before I knew it, Speaker's Corner was a thing, and I was producer and host. So I was a little bit gobsmacked for a while, but I'm so excited. I'm just as the weeks are going by, and it's only about a month away now. I'm really excited for Speaker's Corner, and we've had such a great reaction to it. It's fabulous. So the idea is that as family historians, we tell our stories in many different ways. And we sometimes tell them to people who aren't interested, and they sort of dismiss politely or not. um, we tell our stories in writing, as we all do with our newsletters, and there's podcasts and video. But we realised the Projectkin had a little gap there, that we weren't telling the stories orally. So that's what Speaker's Corner is all about. We have our soapbox, and we'll have two guests each session to come along. They're monthly. Speaker's Corner will be monthly. And the guests will come along and jump up on the soapbox and tell us their story. So we start on the 14th of August with our first one, and the format is going to be slightly different just because it's our first. I think it came about because of this story that I'm going to tell, actually, now that I think about it. I was probably telling Barbara about that. So I'm going to tell a story about a humanitarian born in England who came to Australia, and her story is a big story. So I have a guest to come along. We're going to split it in half, and I'll tell the first part of her life in Australia, and then she'll continue on. And so that's Anne Young from Anne's Family History.
Who's just joined us.
Oh, hello, Anne. Anne lives in the area that this person did a lot of good work, so she's sort of very, very familiar with her. So that's the first session. After that, we will have two speakers and sometimes three speakers each time.
Now,
yep.
No, I was just going to say, and you've been planning these, so tell us how that's going.
Oh, yes. So many people have put their hands up. It's incredible. So we're scheduling way into 2026 now, which doesn't mean that you can't still put your hand up to come along and tell your story. So if you'd like to come along, there'll be a link in the bottom with a small questionnaire. There's only 2 or 3 questions there. You don't need to have your story organised or know what you're going to talk about. Just get yourself on the list, and we can put you into a spot, and then you can start thinking about your story. We'll sort that out later. The stories about anything in your family history that calls to you or that you really think is a great story, and know that you'll have eager ears here waiting to hear your story. Yeah. There'll be no eye rolling here. Everyone will love your story. So get yourself registered as quickly as you can, because it's not just a marketing ploy. They are filling quick. So we're looking now at thinking about, we haven't filled Christmas on purpose, even though we've filled all the other months, because we're trying to plan something special for Christmas. So we're just thinking about Christmas ideas, Christmas memories, Christmas food. After hearing Cynthia the other day, we really thought that might be a good idea to have something about Christmas food. So if you would like to come along and tell a shorter story, I think we might have, if we have enough people that want to do it, multiple guests for our Christmas one. Same thing, go to the link and pop your name in, and there's a little section we can write if it's the Christmas session you're interested in, and we can slot you in. And from that, and from Cynthia, her wonderful session the other day, as Barbara said, we were chatting during the week and after that, and we just thought Speaker's Corner is such a great place to tell food stories, or perhaps even have our own potluck. We've just been tossing around lots of different ideas, so that's coming too. Yeah. So I think that's about all. Have I missed something? All I wanted to cover?
I think that was the key point. Yeah. I've just dropped into the chat both the link to the speakers queue, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
just a Google form, or
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a Google form. And then of course y'all knew how to reach us with the our
Yeah.
handles on
Yeah.
Substack, of course. And I've also dropped in a link to projectkin.org/recipes because it's the quickest way to get to Cynthia's last post. And hello, Andrew of Family Histories podcast. Welcome.
Oh, hello, Andrew.
It's a delight to see you. Across all of these, it was the notion that food, because I guess human memory, smells, tastes, these are sensorial things that just have just a direct line straight into our memories. It's such a wonderful way to bring up these evocative ideas, even if they are not as locked into the specific factual data that we might get in other parts of our family history research and work. But it seemed really appropriate to celebrate in the holidays. And I don't know, I can certainly say that for my work, since following my family around with my own paltry understanding, even of American history, um, it has been a joy to learn so much from all of you about different regions of the country that I'm not familiar with, or now, most recently, it's some work that I've done on my father's side of the family, which takes me into Switzerland, has me, learning and pulling more of these records in. So it has always been a thrill to read the actual family stories that people write telling these tales that give me inspiration for where to look and what to find. I will be working next on an article about that will add to my stories series. Sometime back, I shared how. Well, I guess it was in a note. I was delighted to see how the My 16s series. You can search for My 16s. Frankly, in Google is the best way to find it. You go to substack.com/ quote, my 16s, unquote. And you'll find a lot of interesting articles that have been written by a variety of members in our little genealogy community here, describing their 16 2X great grandparents. And so I joined in on the fun, though I'd resisted very many stories about my own family. And sure enough, that article was found through its SEO, because the SEO in Substack is doggone good
Yeah.
if you do it right. And from there, I connected with a third cousin, like really close, whom I knew nothing about that side of the family. So it was brilliant. And that's introduced me to a fabulous array of data about my family. And now even more out to the 17th century, early 17th, 16th century in Europe, which is just mind
Yeah.
boggling. So I'll be
Amazing.
talking some more about that. And also for Mission Genealogy, my little sister publication, for which you have also been such an extraordinary help. This is a publication that really started with my good friend Robin Stewart, whom many of you know from Genealogy Matters, when we realized we needed a clubhouse, we needed a place for genealogists and family historians to find each other from here on Substack. So we created it as a publication and have a lot of content related to what do we know, how do we know it, from about getting the most out of Substack. And as part of that, Deborah Carl now maintains a weekly series of tips, one of which I owe her on, here's the callback, SEO. Because SEO in Substack is remarkably good. They call it technical SEO. There's I use the right keywords, but there's also where you put it to make sure that it can be found by the engines and whatnot. So I'm sorry, I went off on a thread, but I hope that's a useful thread for what all of us are trying to do in our research and storytelling.
Hello, Alex, another fellow Australian. Great to see you
There
here.
we go.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, here's an insider tip for all of you coming in from Australia, New Zealand, and even points far to the she thinks left hand. West of that, that is to say, the Hong Kong and so on, other English-speaking areas. Um, Now that we're getting these, particularly the Speakers Corner series, we will be alternating as much as we can based
Yeah,
on topics and people,
yeah,
between those happening for the convenience of our friends in Europe and the eastern side of the United States and Canada, to the Australia, New Zealand communities and the western side of the US and Canada. And again, you jump back and forth between them remarkably. But having that breadth of range of the stories themselves, I find fascinating because it lets me see how the things that we know in our American history, oh, there are actually parallels in Canada. And oh, there are parallels in Australia and to a certain extent New Zealand. Having Emma talk about the wool trade. Hello, sheep.
mm,
New Zealand, Australia,
yeah,
right? I don't know why sheep. I don't know enough about sheep. Why sheep never were a thing in the U.S. Not that much. We do here, but I don't know. What do I know? These are just fascinating. I suppose probably because buffalo and cattle were more bigger money. That's actually an interesting
it is an
whole riff
interesting
all by
question, isn't
itself.
it? Yeah, yeah.
Because you have a cattle industry in Australia, right? A cattle
Oh, yeah,
tradition.
yeah. Big cattle
Yeah,
industry, beef cattle and
yeah,
dairy, and
yeah.
of course
Just
sheep.
like in Latin America. Yeah, yeah, Latin America too. I don't know. Interesting. But these are the
Yeah,
stories that take us all in our nerdy historical interests into
yeah,
different parts of the world, and the parallels across the planet, I think, give us a lot to learn from. Someday,
yeah,
as I've always said, maybe we'll be able to do simultaneous translation from the data that we do here so that we could get meaningful conversations across languages.
yeah,
Right now, certainly speaking for my ancestors, my cousins in places like Switzerland and Germany, I'm thrilled by their very gracious English, but we can't always count on that. And it's yeah,
yeah, yeah.
brings
But
us
isn't it
together, doesn't
great?
it?
Isn't it great though to be able to get in contact with your family and on both sides of the world or any part of the world? It's just fabulous,
Absolutely.
and
I
the ways we can do
That's
it
what
now.
Yeah. It just
Yeah,
makes this such a golden time to be right here.
yeah.
Oh, oh, Kathy, speaking of cattle,
Oh, yeah,
Kathy points out, and I suppose this is probably true in all agricultural areas, big times right now with the Calgary Stampede, horses, cows, rodeos, chuck wagon races. Wow, who knew? I was once in one summer. We had a family reunion of my immediate siblings, immediate family in Montana, where it was during what they called the bull thing. Yes, the bull thing. Much smaller than the very famous Calgary Stampede. Thank you, Kathy. And hello, welcome,
so
Greg.
great.
Lovely to see you. These kinds of seasonal things, as you now are moving into still late, the middle of winter, right? You're moving, spring is next for you, just as
Yeah.
fall is next for us. Um, Thank you, Kathy's
Thanks,
just shared the
Kathy.
Calgary Stampede. Yeah, I'll get all of that in the notes, Kathy. Thanks for the reminder. But it is seasonal. It is the fun of
Yeah,
the seasons
yeah,
back and
yeah,
across the planet.
absolutely.
Always
Yeah,
fun to do.
yeah. I was just thinking then, I remember because I've been doing this for 40 years, we're talking about the ways we can keep in contact with family now. Um, when I first started, if you saw if a story in a magazine or something, it was always magazines then, and you wanted to contact that person, we didn't jump online. We had to write a letter and send a self-stamped addressed envelope with it, mail it over to England or wherever it was, wait for, weeks until they got around to answering until the letter came back. Um, and it's just so instant now, you know.
Yeah,
It was always
yeah.
exciting waiting for that reply and hoping it was what you wanted it to be, but it's just so exciting now the way we do it. And I know that makes me
Yeah.
sound really old, but
No,
it really
no,
is. It's great. Yeah.
no. I remember as a high school kid in the summers and then in early college, my stepdad was working on a business book, but he had a whole lot of ads all the way through the book, and I was the research lab, the researcher to go find out
Yeah.
who published this ad, how can I get rights to it, and so hey, these were fancy times. I
Yeah.
made a phone call. Of course, it
Oh,
was the same country, so that made it easier.
yeah. Yeah.
So I would make a phone. Actually, no, I would call directory assistance
Yes.
in New York City first. 808, no, 212-555-1212, which is the directory assistance number
Yeah.
probably across North America, and get that information, scratch the surface, and get to the next step.
Yeah.
These are the skills. The skills of genealogy are
Yeah.
so powerful,
Yeah. Yeah.
to take you from one step to the next. You
And
know,
I'm really happy that I did my research uh, like face to face. I had to go to a centre or
right?
go somewhere. We're 200 miles from um, Melbourne, kilometres from Melbourne. But so it had to be a trip to Melbourne really to do any research. But it was a good grounding to understand
Hmm.
basic genealogy,
Yeah,
so, and to get anything from the Family Search Centre, that would
yeah,
take ages, would take forever,
yeah,
you know. But it was exciting when it came. It was very exciting when it
yeah,
came. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, and so it's so instant now, which is great. It's really great, but I'm really pleased that I had that grounding.
It's interesting you say that because I'm also thinking about how as no, I am not a genealogist. I'm just trying. I'm running alongside. But any of us doing any of this kind of family research, if once you have been a recipient of someone else's extraordinary
Yeah,
generosity, um, of information and even corrections, gentle
yeah,
nudges of
yeah,
context and so on, you feel obligated to return it in
yeah,
kind to the next
yeah,
person.
exactly.
And yeah, I suppose more than anything, that's what's gotten me into this in the first place, and why I feel so strongly about what I'm doing and why, because layer after layer, I have received so much information from the generosity of others,
Yeah,
and uh, that's all I can do to help people on the tech side because that's something I do know, to get
yeah,
through and share more because this is such an amazing. I had a great time over the weekend, it is to say yesterday, sharing our stories on my mother's side with my uncle's grandchildren and their children who came to visit. There's just this massive gaps in our family for ages, and they had none of this background at
yeah,
all. And so I get to tell the stories. And then it's the in-law, the granddaughter's husband who's like, "Oh, wait, you can do that? Yeah, you can do that."
yeah,
So, his family's all is Czech or something with lots of consonants.
yeah, yeah,
And, how do you overcome the communications barriers, and where do you start and where do you going? That kind
yeah.
of thing. It's,
And
it's such a
how
joy.
great that you are able to plant the seed. Just plant the
Yeah.
seed in those young grandchildren of your uncle. I mean, I think that's great. Yep.
I hope so. I hope
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah,
I did get news that was a bit disappointing. I'm still working on it, but I had a dream that all of my grandmother's genealogical records, all of those documents that she based her book on, would turn up in a cousin's attic. And he says, "Yeah, no, I don't think they're there.
Oh,
I'll let you know when I open the box." It's like, what?
dream, that's a
Everybody
nightmare.
assumed they must be there.
Definitely a nightmare.
I don't know. I won't believe it till he opens the boxes.
Yep,
So we'll find out. Yeah.
yep,
And
yep,
then perhaps it's all crumbling paper. Who knows? You
yep.
know?
Yeah.
Preservation, above all,
Oh,
preservation,
exactly. Yeah.
context.
We're all about the tech now, aren't we? But, we mustn't forget to preserve all those documents and yeah. Yep. Because I
Yeah.
think
No,
paper's still good. Who knows down the track whether our tech today is going to work, in 50 years' time. We
okay.
won't start worrying about that.
Okay. You just gave me a soapbox.
Good.
Hello, welcome, Nancy. It's lovely to have you all, by the way. We sort of have
Yeah, fabulous.
a
Hello,
little
Nancy.
trace going here so we see who's here because we otherwise don't really know.
Yeah.
But on that topic, because I do hear that statement a lot. I don't know, I'm not really trusting this tech stuff. Paper I know is going to be here. Here's the thing. Technology, photos are technology.
Yeah.
Those little
Yeah.
tintype
Yeah.
technology. And I'm sure there were people seeing those photos saying, that's not going to last.
Absolutely.
Nobody's going to care.
Yeah.
I've got a painting and this I know is real.
Yeah.
From the way I see it, technology moves forward and some of them, like a tree, like a family tree, some of them leave dead ends. Some of the technologies, my Betamax, my laser disc, yep, those are dead. In the, what is it, early aughts decided this technology thing is so cool. I don't need no stinking prints anymore. I'm going to get my discs, my photos delivered on a digital CD. Let them digitize it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a lot of negatives, but I preserve the negatives and these doggone CDs, which are garbage, right? Because first of all, I don't have a machine myself with a CD-ROM, but I can get that elsewhere. But I do have the negatives. It's just that catching this information and creating more backups, more redundancy is the key.
Yeah.
And a print is just a photo on paper, stored on paper. The paper is not necessarily going to last either. I think bits, particularly the way we can take perfect copies and make them over and over again with lots of different places they exist, have a good chance. Doesn't mean it's perfect. None of this is perfect, you know? Anyway, all right.
Yeah. I
I'll
think
get
we
off
have
the
to move.
soapbox.
I think we have to move with it. Just move with the
Yeah.
changes as they're happening, and then just keep up with it. Is the thing.
And keep
Yeah.
listening, keep paying
Yeah.
attention. There is no one
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the bottom line. That is
Yeah.
and I think the opportunity here, to be telling stories so many different ways is a powerful one. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm so excited about the soapbox you have
Oh, I
with
know.
our speakers
Yeah.
corner to
Yeah.
step up and tell our stories because again, every one of our speakers will get as a personal gift
Yes.
an MP4 file of their recording, just their recording that they can do with as they please. They don't have to
Yeah.
edit it out of anything. Well, I'll do that for you. And maybe we can think of other gifts that are of value
Yeah.
to thank people for
Yeah.
for speaking, because I do think it's very important. Plus, you get all the joy of actually doing it and having a little something to
Oh,
share with your cousins and so on.
yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, they like that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. And for anyone, I think a few came in a little bit late. Um, we're still taking speakers for 2026. So just have a look at the notes and register if you're interested there. Don't worry about having a story yet. We don't need to know that. Just pop your name in so we can get you into a slot and worry about the
There
story
you go.
later. Yeah. Yep.
And how far out into 2026 are you already booking?
June. It's amazing. We do have a spot for someone who's happy to do the Atlantic time in March. So, if you have a story and even if you're not in that time zone, if you'd like to, organise
Stay
yourself
up
to do
late?
it
Sit
in that
early?
time, stay up
Yeah.
late or get up early, whatever it is. So we're looking for someone in the Atlantic time because the idea is to alternate between Atlantic and Pacific month by month, but it's not really working out that way because we have many more people in the Pacific time, of course. So yeah, we at the moment it's a couple of Pacific months, then an Atlantic, and yeah,
let me take a brief moment, and we do need to wrap up. I'll take a brief moment to
Yep.
explain what Atlantic and Pacific time
Yep.
means.
Oh, yes.
And I'm sorry, I know this is like made up, but I made it up because I'm in California. What can I say? So, right here in California, and all the way up and down, of course, to Canada, British Columbia, and so on, we're kind of in the middle of two wonderful sides of the planet where English speakers live. On one side, to my east, is all the way out across the very populated Americas with Canada and the United States. And then across the Atlantic, you get to Britain and, of course, the continent as well, where we have many English speakers. But on
Yep.
the other side, across the entire Pacific, you get to Australia, New Zealand. Both of those time zones, 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is 6 p.m. in either GMT or BST, depending on where we are in the world and time zones, or an hour later on the western part of the continent. That's what I call the Atlantic time, because generally it's the morning, afternoon across the Americas, or early evening in Europe. But if you switch to midnight in Europe, too late for you. It's still early evening on the eastern United States, but it's late morning or early morning all the way across the Pacific in even Western Australia
Yep.
and New Zealand, as well as just the early afternoon in California. So really, if you're
Yep.
across the Americas, you can go at either time zone. And the Atlantic is really targeting the my eastern side, and the Pacific is sort of my western side from here in California. That's
Yep.
all. It's pretty simple idea. I know there is a Pacific time zone. We're in the Pacific time zone, and that's not what we mean. We mean 4 o'clock in the Pacific time zone, which does blah, blah, blah. And I do everything I can to make that as easy as possible to track. More at projectkin.org/events.
It's a great explanation. Makes it a lot easier to
Thank you.
understand.
Maybe I'll use that as a clip.
Yeah. Yeah. Good idea.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone who has joined. I truly appreciate this. I think it's a exciting thing we're all pulling together, and it's a delight to have all of you be so supportive of this community and, importantly, of each other. This is something magical here, and I'm darn tootin' gonna do everything I can to protect
Yeah.
it and support it. And if you've got new ideas of ways to do that, from chuck wagon races to stories about cattle and sheep, bring it on. We're ready for it. If it's got to do with your family and stories, we want to hear about it. How
Yeah.
about that?
Yep. Yep. Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for all the hearts. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care now.
Bye.
Bye bye.
See ya.